Welcome to the WION podcast, where we explore fascinating stories and ideas from various fields. In this episode, we dive into a rare sky event where the rising sun will shock viewers as a glowing crescent. A crescent sunrise solar eclipse is set to occur this weekend. However, it will be visible only from some parts of the world. Viewers in New Zealand, the South Pacific, and Antarctica will have a rare chance to witness a crescent-shaped sun rising. The cut-off sun will be a result of the eclipse. Known as the equinox eclipse, this celestial event is especially notable because it takes place within the same 24-hour period as September's equinox. At this time, the sun seemingly crosses the celestial equator and brings spring to the southern hemisphere, while autumn begins in the north. The partial solar eclipse is the second one of 2025. The reason for the crescent sunrise is the timing of the eclipse. It will begin on September 21st. This is the time when the sun will rise on Monday in Antarctica, New Zealand, and the South Pacific. So those residing in these regions will get to see a crescent sunrise. This event will be equally fascinating as a total solar eclipse. During a total solar eclipse, the moon completely covers the sun, leaving only the corona, or the outer atmosphere, visible. But in the case of a partial solar eclipse, a portion of the sun remains visible. So it appears like a crescent moon, except what you have is the sun partially cut off. The path of the eclipse is extremely remote, and a very tiny percentage of the world's population will get to see it. During the eclipse, up to 86% of the sun will be hidden in parts of Antarctica's Ross Sea and southern New Zealand. The best viewing location will be in Dunedin, New Zealand. The solar maximum will reach about 72% coverage about 40 minutes later. In Auckland, the partially eclipsed sun will be seen. The maximum eclipse here will be 61%. The coverage of the sun will further reduce in the South Pacific. As in Fiji and Tonga, the partial eclipse will be much smaller at sunrise. The next solar eclipse will take place on February 17, 2026. It will be an annular solar eclipse, which will create a ring of fire for up to 2 minutes and 20 seconds. However, this eclipse will also be visible only in Antarctica. In this episode, we uncover the alarming rise of the H3N2 virus, sweeping through nearly 70% of Delhi NCR households, sparking concerns over its symptoms, risks, and the urgent need for treatment and prevention. The H3N2 virus is spreading rapidly across Delhi and nearby areas of NCR cities, where several people are suffering from common flu-like symptoms. A recent health report released by the Local Circles survey indicated that there has been a staggering increase in the H3N2 virus from 50 to 70% of households, where at least one member fell sick with flu-like symptoms over the past few months in Delhi NCR. Multiple hospitals and doctors are observing an increase in the number of patients with this virus, particularly people with respiratory problems, children, and the elderly. Reports also indicated that the main culprit for this significant jump is influenza, which is leading to prolonged fevers, hospitalization, and even respiratory issues among individuals. In a survey of 11,000 people across Delhi, Gurugram, Noida, Faridabad, and Ghaziabad discovered that at least one family member in many households was either currently ill or had recently suffered from fever, cough, and fatigue. This reflects a sharp increase from March 2025, when only 54% of families reported flu-like illnesses. H3N2 is a subtype of the influenza A virus, categorized by surface proteins known as hemagglutinin, H, and neuraminidase, N, specifically type 3H and type 2N. It is a seasonal flu that circulates among humans, mutates over time, and varies in severity each year. The virus tends to cause more severe symptoms in high-risk groups such as children, older adults, pregnant women, people with weakened immune systems, and those suffering from asthma, COPD, cardiovascular disease, or diabetes. Common symptoms include high fever, often above 38 to 39 degrees Celsius, dry or wet cough, sore throat, fatigue, muscle aches, chills, and occasionally vomiting or loose motions, while in children it can also lead to nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. Many patients in the current outbreak have reported fever lasting over 5 to 7 days, with cough persisting even after other symptoms subside. The greatest risks associated with H3N2 are severe illnesses like pneumonia, bronchitis, and worsening of chronic conditions, particularly among vulnerable populations. To reduce the risk of infection, health experts recommend annual vaccination, wearing masks in crowded or poorly ventilated places, maintaining good hygiene, supporting the immune system, and avoiding close contact with sick individuals. If someone at home is ill, isolation is advised.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Beyond World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines at this hour. The India's Ministry of External Affairs has reacted to Washington's H-1B visa fee hike, says that this move will have humanitarian consequences, and has added that it is examining the implications of the United States' decision to impose $100,000 annual fee on the H-1B visas. The American media reports say that an armed man was apparently detained at the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, where a memorial service for the conservative influencer Charlie Kirk will take place on Sunday. President Trump and several other political leaders are expected to speak at his memorial. According to reports, Israel has apparently asked its close ally United States to put pressure on Egypt over its military build-up in the Sinai Peninsula, alleging that Cairo is accumulating forces there in violation of the peace treaty between the two nations. And Israel drops evacuation order leaflets over Gaza City again as the IDF continues its attacks on the Palestinians in Gaza. And Air India has cautioned passengers over possible check-in delays at London's Heathrow Airport as a cyber attack at a service provider for check-in and boarding systems disrupts the operations at several major European airports. Security concerns are high ahead of the public memorial of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, and the authorities detained an American man who claims to be a member of the law enforcement. This amidst the growing threat against the event in Arizona on Sunday. The memorial will feature high-profile speakers including the American President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. The man was observed to be acting suspiciously. The U.S. Secret Service confirmed that he was not authorized for the event, and federal authorities are investigating, and no further arrests have been announced. The activist and co-founder of the Turning Point USA was fatally shot at the Utah Valley University on the 10th of September. The 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been charged with aggravated murder. The memorial is scheduled for Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. And amongst the expected speakers are President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Robert Kennedy Jr. Public figures such as Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson will also attend the event. Now, Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, will also be addressing the attendees, and officials have implemented Super Bowl-level security, and the event has got a special event assessment rating of level 1 due to multiple potential threats. The stadium was chosen for its large capacity and air-conditioned environment. The venue can host over 63,000 people at once, and guests have been asked to wear red, white or blue, the colors of the American flag.
Well, let's see what happened there. That's too bad. I don't know what happened.
We've all been there, right? You know, with the dropped call.
All right. Try it again. I keep on messing this up.
Maybe just not on a world stage. It's safe to say Meta's reveal of its yet-to-be-released smart glasses didn't quite go as planned.
Yeah, let's, what do you think? Let's just go ahead and...
WhatsApp video call.
The live-streamed event had a number of reported technical difficulties, much to the amusement of social media users.
Hey, can you help me make a Korean-inspired steak sauce for my steak sandwich here?
You can make a Korean-inspired steak sauce using soy sauce, sesame oil.
What do I do
brown
first?
sugar.
What do I do first?
You've already combined the base ingredients, so now grate a pear to add to the sauce.
What do I do first?
You've already combined the base ingredients, so now grate the pear and gently combine it with the base sauce.
All right, I think the Wi-Fi might be messed up. Sorry, back to you, Mark.
It's all good.
Perhaps the secret ingredient was better Wi-Fi? Social media reaction ranged from sympathy to sarcasm, with one YouTube watcher saying, "Cool, see you in 10 years when it works." Despite the troubles, the Facebook and Instagram parent company did showcase the many features of its Ray-Ban display glasses.
These are glasses with the classic style that you'd expect from Ray-Ban, but they are the first AI glasses with a high-resolution display.
They include a Meta Neural wristband for a reported price tag of $799 and will be available September 30th. The glasses display captions for real-time conversations or translations. They also allow you to use hand motions to select items and can send text messages by voice as well as calls. Meta reportedly expects to sell more than 100,000 pairs of the glasses by the end of the year. The announcement comes as the company plays catch-up in the field of AI against rivals OpenAI and Google.
Well, I mean, I think the actions we asserted today, the laws that we just advanced today, run in complete contrast to what she's asserting and what she's pushing.
Governor, thank you very much. Some of these laws have raised constitutional questions around the state's role in federal operations. Are these legally defensible laws?
Yes. We're not getting, federal government has the right with federal resources to enforce federal laws, period, full stop. That's never been in question. It's well established. In fact, Ninth Circuit adjudicated along those lines when the Trump administration 1.0 asserted otherwise. So I don't say this as an elected official. I say that on the basis of legal fact. And so we continue to be very mindful of that. Look, we're clear in the legislation that was just passed and signed that judicial orders or warrants provide an exemption to the criteria that we have established. As it relates to the supremacy clause, we think that, again, does not provide blanket immunity. But no question that will be tested. I'm not naive about that. But please tell me, I'm old enough to have been around in the 80s and 90s, and I even remember the early parts of 2000. I don't remember people taking a foreign exchange student and throwing her back of a van, disappearing her because she co-authored an op-ed that the Supreme Leader didn't like. I don't recall that. I don't recall people jumping out of the back. I just don't. With masks on and unmarked cars, or maybe it was a marked U-Haul truck, and terrorizing people at a shopping mall or going to car washes, or just collaterally taking someone who was selling strawberries off the streets, or showing up where 2 U.S. senators and dozens of elected officials assembled to intimidate them, or federalize, for that matter, the National Guard against the will and whims of elected officials in the state. This is a whole together different thing that you see in Orban's Hungary, not the United States of America. You see this in Kim Jong-un's North Korea. You see this in Putin's Soviet Union. This is the United States of America. There are certain fundamental principles and values that are at stake. And so we're putting a stake in the ground, and we're holding the line, and we're pushing back.
Almost every package starts with a box. It travels from a factory floor to a loading dock to a front porch. But that same box does more than carry what you ordered. It carries clues about the economy. Economists call it the cardboard box index. When box orders drop, it can signal a slowdown in shopping and shipping. When stacks build up, it means demand is strong and businesses are preparing for more sales. Virginia Tech economist Jadrian Wooten says fewer boxes and rising job losses flashed early warning signs in the 2008 recession. Investopedia says 75 to 80% of goods arrive in a box. Chip Lupo with WalletHub says the box index isn't perfect, but it can give an early read on consumer confidence before bigger numbers like GDP catch up. The latest report from the Bureau of Economic Analysis shows GDP grew 3.3% in the second quarter, driven by higher consumer spending and fewer imports. Economists also watch other signals, home construction, car sales, even lunchtime traffic, to see how Americans are spending.
Good evening. The scale of the tragedy linked to Thursday's Optus outage is becoming clearer tonight. In the last hour, the death of a fourth person has been confirmed by the West Australian Premier, a 49-year-old man from Perth. The telco's CEO also revealing they took several hours to act when first alerted to the 000 blackout.
Under siege, Optus CEO Stephen Roux fronting the media for the second time in 24 hours, and the bad news kept coming.
We were informed by two individuals that they could not connect into 000, and this information was not surfaced with the relevant escalation at that time.
The telco confirming a botched firewall upgrade knocked out 000 calls to South Australia, WA and the NT at 12:30am Thursday. But with regular calls still going through, Optus was in the dark.
Why didn't they know? Why didn't the alarms go off? Why did the testing fail? How long did it take them to work that out?
At 9am, the company's call centre was contacted by two customers alerting them to the problem. That information wasn't passed on.
Normal calls were connecting as they should, and call volumes at a national level did not raise any red flags.
It wasn't until 1:30pm, some 13 hours after the upgrade, a third customer call was finally acted upon. The telco stopping the upgrade, restoring 000 access and contacting police. By then, 600 people had called for help and couldn't get through. We now know an 8-week-old baby boy and a 68-year-old woman died in South Australia, while a 74-year-old man passed away in WA.
There is potentially another case of a Western Australian that has been attempting to call 000 and passed away.
Family of the 68-year-old woman in Adelaide are mourning the loss of a wife and sister, and hope authorities are able to investigate the terrible circumstances so other families don't experience a tragedy like this. Neighbours of the newborn boy also devastated.
Just police here, the ambulance had already left and they were crying.
Optus is now being accused of not one but 3 catastrophic failures. The 000 outage, ignoring early customer warnings and withholding critical information. The company failed to notify South Australia's Premier 2 of the deaths were in his state.
A news media outlet here in Adelaide, The Advertiser, published the fact that 2 of them were from South Australia. So that's how we found out about these deaths.
And it wasn't just the government, the ambulance service also wasn't aware. Accusations today, Optus also delayed the police investigation by withholding the names and addresses of those affected. It took a direct call from the South Australian Premier to the Optus CEO for that information to finally be passed on.
The information flow here is sort of beggars belief.
For too long, Optus has put profits over safety, and it has now cost people's lives.
Adelaide-based Chris Tyndall needed urgent help around lunchtime on Thursday.
I called 000, there's no sound whatsoever. So I called them again, still no sound.
The 70-year-old finally got through 10 minutes later.
That 10 minutes or so can be a matter of life and death.
It's the second time in just 2 years Optus customers have been blocked from dialing 000. In 2023, more than 2,000 people were cut off. The company fined $12 million, a review recommending telcos alert the public and emergency services.
Some of the things that Optus now needs to explain is why those particular recommendations that were designed to stop this from happening again were not implemented at the critical moment on Thursday.
Sophie Walsh, 9 News.
And Sophie Walsh joins me now in the studio. Sophie, families probably aren't thinking about this yet, but is there any legal recourse for them?
Well, Georgie, Optus and all telecommunication providers have strict obligations under Australian law to ensure people are able to access 000 when they need to. Having said that, when it comes to civil claims for compensation and damages, it isn't automatic. These families will have to prove Optus breached its duty of care. They'll also need to prove the deaths were a direct result of not being able to get through to 000 and not for some other reason. But if they can establish those things, you'd think Optus is going to face some pretty hefty claims. Georgie.
Sophie, thank you.
Es geht kein Automat, wir können keine Boardingkarte lösen, aber beim Check-in stehen auch die Leute. Mittlerweile ist normalerweise der Flieger weg. Wir warten, vielleicht steht noch ein zweiter zur Verfügung, wissen wir auch nicht. Die Informationen sind mehr als spärlich. Das ist ein Trauerspiel, was hier am Flughafen Bär abgeht.
It's really just the amount of people stranded, not knowing where they're going, missing connections.
Yeah, no organisation, nobody's told us anything what's going on. We've had to literally cherry pick it ourselves and get as much information as we can, which has been little or nothing.
How long are you guys here waiting?
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, we're together.
2 hours of just for checking.
Yeah. At the airport 2 hours ago. We arrived to the airport at 7:05, and it's now 9:05.
So 2 hours of waiting.
Basically.
NATO air policing was doing a good job, and also they were signaling to the Russian pilots that they should change their course. And so far there was no reaction from the Russian pilots. So we can say that at least some of the flight path was intentional, and they must have known that they were in Estonian airspace. NATO air policing was doing a good job, and also they were signaling to the Russian pilots that they should change their course. And so far there was no reaction from the Russian pilots. So we can say that at least some of the flight path was intentional, and they must have known that they were in Estonian airspace. The Russian pilots didn't actually follow the signs what the Italian pilots showed them. So why they didn't do it, that's a question for the Russian pilots.
This was a very serious violation of the NATO airspace. We are talking about 12 minutes of violation. Last time we saw it just before Estonia joined NATO, it was 2003. But now this is the global situation is totally different. The regional situation is different. Just a couple of days before, we saw a full-scale attack against Poland with 19 drones. And if you put it all in the pattern, so Russia is turning on the heat, Russia is testing more NATO.
When we talk about yesterday's case, then every situation is different. And of course we need to be proportional. So we look very closely. What is the route? How the airplanes are communicating with us? Do they react what we are telling them? What is their intention? What are the weapon systems they are carrying with? So there are many indicators we are looking at. And of course yesterday we were very confident that there is no need to shoot them down. So I see here a very clear link that Russia is provoking not only in Poland, not only in Estonia, all NATO in cyber field, in airspace. And the reason behind that is that they think that we should talk more about our own defense and not so much about Ukraine.
How deadly is the CJ-1000, the world's first hypersonic plane killer? Showcased at China's Victory Day parade on the 3rd of September, these missiles promise to rewrite the rules of aerial warfare. And WION's Rehesh Sehgal gets you more.
The CJ-1000, also known as Long Sword 1000, is China's newest hypersonic cruise missiles. Let's now look at some of its key features. According to China's National Defense University, with speeds exceeding Mach 5, like I mentioned, first it's a hypersonic cruise missile with speed exceeding Mach 5. It has a potential long-range precision strikes exceeding 6,000 kilometers. The CJ-1000 can be launched from mainland China or rather deployed aboard forward naval bases in the South China Sea. It can also strike airborne sea or land assets. Its air-breathing scramjet engine allows for sustained hypersonic flight and the ability also to evade current missile warning satellites and radar systems as well. Like I mentioned, that it can evade missile warning satellites and radar systems. These are some of the key features of China's CJ-1000. Apart from that, let's also now take a look at the potential targets. China can use the CJ-1000 to strike high-value airborne assets such as aerial refueling tankers. Not just that, also airborne early warning aircraft and finally reconnaissance platforms as well from thousands of kilometers away. Apart from that, the PLA has indicated that it will mainly target command and control nodes, meaning that any aircraft critical for entire military operations, including Air Force One, which could be at a risk. The CJ-1000 is also designed to engage high-altitude, large and slow-moving aircraft. The US E-3 Sentry and KC-135's refuelers, which are critical to military operations, providing early warning warfare support and mid-air refueling. So these are basically the potential targets of China's plain killer missile. Let's also now take a look at how does China's CJ-1000 stand in comparison to other hypersonic missiles of perhaps other countries. Now, the CJ-1000 of China, it stands out as its long-range capability. Its estimated range is 6,000 kilometers and is higher when compared to that of Russia's. We're talking about Russia's 3M22 Zircon missile, which has a range of 1,000 kilometers. That's the estimated range of Russia. So China has an upper hand when compared to Russia. Moving on to US's Dark Eagle LHRW, which also has a range of 2,775 kilometers. Moving on to Iran now. Iran's Fatah 1, it has a range of 1,400 kilometers. And meanwhile, North Korea's Hwasong 16B has a range of 3,000 kilometers. So China again has an upper hand when compared to Iran and North Korea.
Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has reportedly asked the Trump administration to pressurize Egypt to scale down a recent military build-up in the Sinai Peninsula. According to reports quoting the US and Israeli officials, the Egyptian military build-up in Sinai has become another significant point of tension between the countries as the war in the Gaza Strip continues. Now, according to reports, Netanyahu presented the Secretary of State Marco Rubio with a list of activities in the Sinai Peninsula during their recent meeting in Jerusalem that he claims are substantial violations by Egypt of its 1979 peace accord with Israel, for which the US serves as the guarantor. Now, two Israeli officials have cited in the report said that Egypt has been establishing military infrastructure, some of which could be used for offensive purposes in areas where only light weapons are allowed as part of this treaty. Now, the officials have claimed that Egyptians have extended runways at air bases in Sinai so that they could be used by fighter jets and built underground facilities which the Israeli intelligence believes could be used for storing missiles directed at Israel. Now, there is no evidence that the Egyptians are actually storing any missiles in these facilities, the officials say, but they claim that the Egyptians did not provide a reasonable explanation as to their purpose when asked by Israel through diplomatic and military channels. Now, one Israeli official has said that Israel decided to ask the Trump administration to intervene after direct talks with the Egyptians have shown no progress. The tensions between Israel and Egypt have been steadily increasing since the Netanyahu government was formed in late 2022. The Egyptians have boosted their forces on the border with Gaza and have said that an influx of the Palestinian refugees would be treated as a threat to Egypt's national security.
Israel is warning the world that the next war with Iran is coming and it will bring surprises. That's the message from Amir Baram, the Director General of Israel's Ministry of Defense. He recently said that Israel must be ready for fresh battles with Iran, battles that may be very, very different from anything ever seen before. His words came just weeks after one of the most dramatic confrontations in recent history, the June strike, where Israel carried out air raids deep inside Iranian territory. Now, those attacks were aimed at top Revolutionary Guard commanders, nuclear scientists, missile bases and radar system. After that, Iran hit back with a wave of ballistic missiles fired at Israeli cities and military sites. According to Israel, the 12-day clash ended in its favor. Baram called it a decisive victory, but here's the catch. Iran's leadership is still standing. They feel humiliated but not defeated. And that means Tehran is now pouring money and resources into rebuilding its defenses, strengthening its missile forces and accelerating nuclear-related projects. Basically, in other words, this conflict may have paused, but it is far from over. Baram laid out what he called a three-stage survival plan for Israel. Step 1. Quick procurement of weapons and supplies to stay combat ready now. Second, making sure that the army is prepared for the next 10 years of war, not just today's. And step 3, long-term investment in futuristic technologies. That means new defense system, new weapons, game-changing innovations that could shape the battlefield of tomorrow. And wait, to push this forward, Israel is creating a Supreme Armament Council, a special body meant to fast-track decisions and speed up preparations for wars not only with Iran, but with other enemies across the region. The urgency is very clear, right? Baram said that Israel cannot sit back and relax. It must prepare today for unexpected challenges, for surprise attacks, and for special operations that might come without any warning. And yes, despite the global criticism, Israel is doubling down. While some countries recently cancelled defense deals with Tel Aviv, Baram revealed that Israel still signed $2.5 billion worth of new arms contract just last week. According to him, partners see the value in Israeli technology and understand that long-term defense investment is no longer optional in a world that feels unstable. And yes, Baram is not alone here. Yaron Boskila, who heads Israel's Defense and Security Association, spoke on September 8th. He bluntly said that the confrontation with Iran is not finished. Yes, Israel managed to hurt Iran's nuclear program in June, but no, the danger is not gone. Iran is still in the game and still very, very dangerous. In the meantime, new information is emerging about America's role in June strikes as well. Colonel Joshua of the United States American Force told Fox News that over 4,000 American personnel supported 30-hour B-2 bomber mission against Iranian nuclear facilities. Let me tell you, the longest mission of its kind in history. 14 pilots flew the bombers using bunker buster weapons for the very first time in this combat. All 12 targets were hit with precision. He also described the operation as flawless. Crews kept themselves awake with energy drinks or maybe rotated for short rest during mid-air refueling and worked non-stop just to ensure success. For him, the biggest achievement was not just destroying the targets, but bringing every single aircraft and soldier back home safely. You know what this all means? This means that Israel knows that the war with Iran is not finished. Iran knows it too. Both the sides are preparing, both the sides are upgrading, both the sides are promising surprises. What began as a 12-day clash could easily turn into a much longer shadow war, one that stretches battlefield from Tel Aviv to Tehran and from the skies of Middle East to the cyber networks of the world.
They're not the generation that's going to have to pay. It's my generation that's going to have to pay for the consequences of their actions. That's why we do not listen to these billionaires and why we have to stand up, because collective action works, protesting works.
What we want is for billionaires to pay for their climate crimes and to fund the climate solutions that are going to keep our communities safe.
I came here to make billionaires pay and to stop fascism, to make the rich pay their taxes so that we're able to have affordable housing, fair wages, and clean air for us to breathe.
This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
We're here today to say that the decisions that impact everyday New Mexicans shouldn't be made here in Manhattan skyscrapers by billionaires who have no stake in what happens in these communities.